be decorating cookie kits. It's gonna be so fun. And like always, we have our little cute cookie. Make sure to tag and share us in all of your videos and pictures so we can see all of your amazing work. Let's dive right into this cookie kit. Let's go over everything that we have in this week's cookie kits. So we're gonna start with our cookies. Like always, we have 2 cookies, one for practice and one for real. We have a flamingo, a unicorn, a dinosaur, and a llama. We have some white nonpareils, which is a fancy word for just tiny sprinkles for the llama fur. And then we have some unicorn horns. For our icings this week, we have some white we're gonna use for the llama and the unicorn. We have some tan for the llama face. We have this little bag of icing, which we're gonna use for the unicorn hair. We have a darker green for the dinosaur and a lighter green. We have a flamingo pink and then a darker flamingo pink. And last we have some black so we can give each of our animals a little face hooks. So we picked up our pool party cookie kit today. If you don't have time to do it, I'm gonna tell you how to store it. So the cookies you're gonna leave in their packaging and put them in an airtight Tupperware container and leave them on your counter. And then the icings you can leave in the box and then put them in the fridge. Everything can last about up to 5 days, and then just take out your icings about an hour before you wanna decorate your cookies. Let's dive right into this week's cookies. As you can see, these are not just animals, they're also pool floaties. And if you can remember all the way back to week 1, how we did the 3-dimensional kind of decorating, we're gonna do the same thing with these cookies. That's why we gave you 2 different colors so it can have that nice dimension and actually look like a real pool floaty. So let's do the dinosaur. So we have our 2 cookies like always. Then we have our lighter icing, our darker icing for the dimension, and our black for the face. So we're gonna use this for each cookie. So we're gonna do this last. Start with the lighter icing first. It's already cut. I cut about this much off of it. And we're gonna start with his head. And we're not gonna go all the way down because that's where the darker icing is gonna go. And we're not gonna fill it all the way in because that's where people sit inside the inner tubes. So we wanna give it that nice inner tube dimension. So you're gonna do a nice even pressure, just kind of follow where the dinosaur is, remembering not to go all the way down to the cookie. Just, there we go. And then I'm gonna come back and make it a little bit thicker right there. See how it has that hole in the middle? We're not gonna fill that in just yet. And then we're going to smooth it out with our butter knife. Have your wet towel handy so you can clean off your knife. And we're just going to round him out a little bit. Move your cookie in different ways, that way you can have different smoothings. Make it look nice and pretty. This face right there got a little messed up, but that's okay. Alright, I think that looks pretty good for the first part. Now we're going to take our darker icing. And we're not going to make the hole as big, because about that much is going to come out. Smaller hole. So we're going to put the darker icing towards the middle. Just like that. And then we're going to put it around the bottom. Just a little bit. A little bit more. Alrighty. Now I'm going to smooth this out just a little bit because we don't want to close the hole. So kind of just, I'm putting my knife straight up and down, that way I can get in the middle of the icing. Because if you put it flat, it's gonna wanna cover the hole. You don't wanna do that. All right, and now we're gonna go towards the bottom, just like that. Give it that nice little dimension. I'm actually gonna put a little bit more right there. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. And now our little dinosaur needs some spikes. So we're gonna just, so when you do these, to get the pointed edge, you're gonna kind of pull it away. Just like that. Pull it away. You don't really need to smooth these out as much, but just a little bit. Just so they're flat like the other cookies. Just a little bit. Now we're gonna use our black. For this one, you see how it has this extra little bit on it? We're gonna actually cut that off, but you have to be careful not to cut the side of the bag as well, because then you won't have a tiny hole to do the facial features. So we're just gonna cut it off very carefully. If you need your parents' help, just ask. I'm sure they'll help you out. And then we're gonna cut just a small hole, just enough for it to come out. See, only a little bits coming out. And we're gonna make his little eye right there. And there is our first dinosaur pool cookie. Just like in week 1, how I said we had a practice cookie and another cookie, we're gonna do that again. So this one came out, he's okay, he's pretty cute, but I think I can improve him. And this is good because when you have a practice cookie, you can figure out the different techniques and different ways to hold the piping bag and figure out how to make it just a little bit better so it comes out nicer the next time. So instead of doing the light icing first, I'm gonna do the dark icing first, just to see how that comes out. So I'm gonna look at my first cookie to kind of see where I should put the darker shades first. So that one's kind of right up in the middle right here. So we're gonna do a nice little line, just like that. And we're just gonna smooth it out just a little bit. I don't want it to be very flat. Just a little bit. And now we're gonna go ahead and do the bottom. So we're gonna start smaller on this side, and then as we get towards the middle, we're gonna put a little bit more pressure, and it's gonna be a little bit fatter. There's a nice shading to it. All right, that looks good. Now we're gonna take our light icing. I'm gonna start at his head again. Same concept, the nice even pressure. And we're gonna go around following the cookie, not going over the dark icing, just next to it. And I'm gonna take the light and just go a little bit more towards the center. Take our knife, we're going to smooth them out. Just a little bit. There we go. Definitely think this one's looking a lot better than the first one. See how I have a little crater right there? I'm just going to fill it in a little bit. Make it nice and even with the rest of the icing. We're going to move them so I can get this little bit down here. There we go. Now we're gonna take our dark icing again. We're gonna do the same thing with the spikes. I think I'm gonna put a little bit more spikes on him this time. Just a little pressure and then push it out. Push him out. Maybe give him one more. And now we're gonna take our black icing, and he needs an eyeball. And you can already see from one cookie to the other how practice just really improves your techniques. And this is gonna be it for the dinosaur. Now we're gonna move on to our flamingo. So we have the lighter flamingo pink icing. We have the darker pink icing for the shading. I am actually gonna use some of this white for his beak, just a little bit though. And then we have our black for our face details. So from doing the first T-Rex cookie, I liked the second method better than the first method. So I'm gonna start with the darker pink icing first. Just in here. We're gonna do a small hole. Just enough. All right. So just like in the first one, we're gonna have a darker line right here and then around the bottom. So let's come right here, just be a little bit arched, just like that. And then we're gonna come down and do the second one. Remember to make it a little bit fatter towards the middle and on the ends. That gives it that nice dimension. Now we're going to smooth it out a little bit with our clean knife. Just a tad. Now the bottom. There we go. Just going to give it that nice rounded shape. And now we're going to move on to our lighter pink icing. We do a slightly bigger hole. Now we're only going to do from here down because all of this is going to be his beak. So let's start at the head. And nice, even pressure like always, following the outline of the cookie. Making sure not to cover all of the darker pink. Just like that. I'm going to come back around and do one more loop. Maybe a little bit more over here. And I'm going to just fill in his neck a little bit more. Getting a little skippy. His head. Okay. I'm going to take our knife. You guys can see me doing this while I have my finger on my hand. This helps me stabilize my knife. It gives me that little bit of support that I need to help keep my angles nice and my knife nice and even and flat. So if you want to go ahead and try that, it works pretty well. I'm just going to even him out just enough. There we go. Your cookie keeps moving, just put your thumb towards the bottom, it'll help it keep its place. There we go. Alright, let's move on to the white. So the flamingo beak, it's white and black. So we're only going to use a little bit of this because we have to save some for the other cookies. So I'm going to cut a small hole, just a little one, and we're going to ice his beak. We're going to do the outline first, and then we're going to come around and do it again and fill it in. Try not to get the pink into the white, because then the beak will turn pink. I'm just gonna slightly smooth it out, just so it's even with the rest of the icing. There we go. Now we're gonna use our black. So flamingo beaks, they're black towards the bottom. So we're just gonna do a little line just like that. And then we're gonna go around the outline and just fill it in a little bit. And then we're gonna smooth it out. Just enough. You don't want to press too hard because then it might squirt everywhere and might get really flat and it won't look like a beak. Just like that. Whoop. Right, now we're going to give him an eye. I think right there looks really good. And there is our Flamingo Floaty. Now it's time to ice our second flamingo. So I'm gonna do this one a little bit different than the first one. I'm still gonna do the darker icing first, but I'm gonna do his beak a little bit differently this time, but I'll show you guys when I get to that. So we're gonna start again with our darker icing, right a little towards the middle, kind of towards the top, so it has that inner tube look. And then down towards the bottom again, a little bit fatter towards the middle, maybe a little bit fatter. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'll take my knife, I'm just gonna smooth it out a little bit. Maybe kinda, there we go, that looks better. And I'm gonna smooth, actually gonna do it this way first. Go. And I'm going to smooth the top. One even motion. So you don't want to go like this. And if you go like that, this is what's gonna happen. The buttercream's gonna look all crazy and weird. We don't want that. So just add a little more. A nice smooth motion, so you get a nice, even, and smooth texture. All right, let's move on to our pink, our lighter pink. Just like before, we're gonna start at his head, so a little bit, and then we're gonna go around. You're definitely gonna want a lot more pressure, so more icing comes out of the bag. The more pressure you put, the more icing comes out. So we want a lot of icing for up here. I'm gonna come back around and just fill in any little gaps that I made. Okay. And now we're gonna smooth them out. I'm gonna move them around a little bit, so you can get some nice even strokes. Trying not to cover up the icing underneath. There we go. Smooth his head out a little bit. Cookie's moving everywhere. He's swimming on the board. Put a little bit more in his head. He's got a bald spot. There we go. All right. That's pretty good. All right. So we're gonna start with the white again, but I'm not gonna fill it all the way down this time. I'm only gonna fill it about halfway. Stop about right there, so the bottom can be the black part. I'm going to smooth that part out again. Just like so. I actually need a little bit more. Right there. There we go. Alrighty. I have to clean my towel after this. Right into the crevice. Nice and flat. To go with the black, and we're going to do the outline like always, following the outside of the cookie. I'm just going to push some more in, maybe a little bit more. This doesn't need a whole lot of smoothing, just a little bit though. Definitely think that looks better than the first time. And for this flamingo, I'm going to give it a little eyelash so it could be a girl. Little eyelash. And there you have our flamingo floaties. Alright, it's time to ice our llamas. So here we have our two cookies. We have the white for the llama hair. We have his tan for his llama face. I'm also going to use this to give it a little bit of dimension because even though llamas are white, we still want it to look kind of 3D like the other ones. We have black for the face details, and then we have our little white nonpareils, and that's going to make him look furry. So let's start with our tan first. So we want to cut a small hole like the other ones. Alright, so we're going to start in the middle, just like the other cookies. I'm going to do a small little round line right here. A little bit fatter in the middle. And then we're going to go right on the bottom. Nice, even line. Maybe a little bit more. Butter knife and just smooth them out just a little bit. Right on the bottom. There we go. Alright, so now we're going to do our llama hair. I'm going to cut this hole a little bit larger than we had it before. Just a smidge though, not too much. I only cut about that much off of it, if you could see that. Alright, so we're gonna start with his ears. Just kind of like the T-Rex, how you just kind of made it come to a point on the outside. And then we are going to fill in his hair. I'm doing this one a little bit different because it is a larger space, so I can't really fill it in all at once. But we're going to do the inner tube part first. There we go. And then I'm going to come over here and fill in his neck and his face. And then we're going to just outline where the hole would be. You can't forget, he is a pool floaty. I'm gonna smooth the pool floaty part out more than his hair, because llama hair isn't straight. They do have curly hair, so we don't want to make it super smooth up there. Just fill it in a little bit more. went a little bit over right there. So I'm just gonna kind of fill that in with the tan a little bit. Just that. And up towards the top. Towards the middle. Do a little bit more right here. Just like that. Oops. There we go. So smooth this part out right here. Alright. I'm going to smooth his hair just a little bit, but then I'm going to make it textured. There's a couple different ways you could do this. You can either take your knife and kind of go like that, and it'll just go up and down, and it'll give it kind of a textured look. Just kind of, you know, just like that. Or you can kind of swirl it around a little bit. Kind of take the end of your knife and kind of swirl it. Or you can take your piping bag and kind of swirl his hair around a little bit. So it kind of looks a little fuzzy up there. So my llama's gonna have some bangs on the top, so we're gonna go like this. So make a little triangle of bangs. Maybe smooth this part out so you can tell where his bangs start. Take my tan and give his inner part of his ears a little bit of tan, and then I need a little llama snout. So they're not perfectly circular. We're gonna try and make this as cute as possible, a little bit more like a triangle-y circular shape. I like that. Take my black and make sure they go like that. Do a little llama face, just like that. Oh, it's a little funny looking. And then his little eyes. What's our first llama? Oh wait, I'm just kidding. I forgot the sprinkles. Can't forget the sprinkles. It's the best part. So now we're going to put it on his hair. Just a little bit. So now he looks kind of fluffy. And now he is complete. Okay, it's time for our second llama. So I wasn't super happy with how this one turned out. I didn't really like the tan dimension, so this one's just going to be all white. We're going to see how this one goes. So I am going to cut my hole a little bit bigger this time because I don't think it was big enough last time. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to fill in the inner tube pipe first and then do his head. So you just kind of have to visualize where the middle would be since we don't have that second color anymore. And then we're going to fill it in a little bit more. Keep going around so it has that nice inner tube shape. And then a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more over here. Right on the top. Okay. And now I'm going to fill in his fur. His ears, and his head. Okay, it's time to smooth out our llama. So come on the sides first, make sure he's nice and round. Don't have any weird little buttercreams hanging out. Now, put a little bit more buttercream over here. smooth. Nice and round. Since we don't have that second color, you have to try not to press as hard, because I'm already kind of losing my inner tube shape a little bit, but that's okay because you can always fix it. Everything can be fixed. Here we go, just round out this side. Always making sure to clean off your knife. I'm going to smooth in his head. I think I'm going to do a different texture up here this time. There we go. Alright, he looks nice and round actually. And I'm going to fill in his bangs first. Little bangs. Just a little bit. That looks pretty cute actually. Okay. Now I think I'm going to kind of give it some texture like this with the knife. Just so it's not the same texture as the inner tube. So it has that kind of curly hair look. Just a little different than the bottom. That looks good. I'm actually going to do the nonpareils now instead of at the end because it kind of got in his face last time and I didn't like that. So we're going to do it just on his hair up there. And maybe just a little bit on his fur. Alright, now we're going to take our tan. I'm going to fill in his ears again. Just like so. And I'm going to try and make his face a little bit better this time. I'm actually going to cut my corner right here a little bit because it was getting in the way last time. Just be careful not to cut the edge of the bag. This is going to help not drag the buttercream while you're piping. So we're going to do kind of a triangle shape with his nose. And make it a little bit more raised. Smooth it out a little bit. I'm going to take my icing. I'm going to do his eyes first. 1, 2. Now I'm going to do his nose a little different. So I'm going to make a little X, like a little triangle right there. And it's almost going to look like an X. Alright. And there is our second llama. So I saved the best one for last. My favorite animal is a unicorn. I love unicorns, and these are going to be just the cutest little cookies ever. So we have our 2 cookies, and then we have our horns. Now you can see there's 3 horns in there, and I only have 2 cookies, but that's because I really like to eat the horns. They taste delicious and they're crunchy, and I always eat one every time I make them. And so we have our white for our unicorn body. We have black for the face details. And then you have your little tube of plastic wrap icing, and this is going to be the hair. And then you have your piping bag, which I'm going to show you how to use towards the end when I do the hair. So we're going to start with the white. So we're not going to ice his entire head up here because this is where his hair is going to be and this is his horn, so we don't want to ice that part. So we're just going to do the general shape of the unicorn. Like always, we're going to start at his face. Really put a lot of pressure down, going just close to the edge, and then we're going to come around the cookie. So as you can see, we don't have a darker color for this one either for the outline or for the dimension part of it. So you kind of have to visualize where the inner tube hole is going to be. So we're going to make the top a little bit bigger and then the bottom a little bit bigger. Always keeping that circular motion. And I think that is a good start. Maybe I'll gotta ice his ears. Don't forget his ears. All right. So we're gonna start out. We're gonna ice. We're gonna flatten his body with our knife. Always keep a nice round buttercream form where it is. Just run the edge of your knife on the side, and that will give it that nice round out shape. Here we go. I'm going to just do that up here. There we are. I'm going to put a little bit more buttercream. I think the hole is a little too big. Right there and right there. Flatten that out. That's looking pretty good. Oops, got stuck there. Alright. So that is the base of our uniform. So, now, we're going to take our little tube of icing, we're going to put it to the side, and I'm going to show you, we're going to fold this, and it's going to create a star tip. So this is going to add an extra dimension to its hair. We're going to put our unicorn to the side. You're going to take your piping bag, and you're going to take the flat side facing you, and then you're going to fold it in half. Now you're going to really crease it, get it nice and creased. And then you're going to fold it again, same way, all the way to the end. Nice, good crease on that. You want it to be semi-flat, so it's easy to cut. Okay, there we go. So it's basically half the size that it was before. Now you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut it in an arrow shape. You're going to cut it towards the bottom. You're going to cut it away from you. You're going to do one side, and then you're going to face it towards you, so the point is facing you, and then you're going to do the other side. So you see the edge of it, it's a nice point. Now we're going to unfold it. Open it up. You can see it has all these little teeth marks that it kind of looks like. So when we pipe the buttercream, it's going to create these cool striations in it. It's going to look like hair. All right. So we're going to roll down our piping bag, just like that. Set that to the side. And now we're going to take our little tube of icing right here. I'm going to take the sticker off. And then we're going to cut the bag of icing. You want to cut so the ice, where the icing is, because you want it to come out of the bag. I'm going to cut just a little bit off. So now it's open, and we're going to stick that right into our piping bag. And so all the colors should come out. Let's just test it out before we put it on our unicorn. See how it has those cool little striation marks in it? And now we're going to pipe it onto our unicorn. So we're going to just, I like to turn the bag so you get the different colors towards the front. We're going to give him a little bit more hair because he's a majestic unicorn. Needs a lot of hair. There we go. And that is our unicorn hair. Now we're going to take our horn. Remember how I said we have 3? It's because I love them. So good. And now we're going to take just a little bit of icing just so our horn can stick to the cookie. We're going to put our little unicorn horn right there. And now we're going to take our black and we're going to make, I'm actually going to make a little, he's going to look like he's sleeping for this one. So I'm going to go a little, and that is our first unicorn inner tube. It's time for our final cookie of this kit. So we're going to ice our second unicorn. And I'm still not happy with how this hole is with the bag, so I'm going to cut it a little bit more. Oops, let me wipe my scissors off. They're a little dirty. There we go. So I'm going to cut a really big hole. Nice and big. That should be nice. Alright. Like before, we're going to start at his head. Oh yeah, that's way better. Look at all the icing coming out of there. And we're just going to follow the edge of the cookie all the way around up to his neck. I'm going to fill it in a little bit. Remembering to keep that hole for the inner tube. Okay. Now we're going to use our knife. I'm just going to flatten it out a little bit. Just a smidge. Keeping it nice and clean. Don't be afraid to move your cookie around. It definitely helps when you are icing it. Because if you just keep it one way, then you have to move the knife in all these weird angles and it just never comes out as well as you think it would. Go with the flow of the cookie. I made his hole a little bit bigger on this one too. I think it looks nicer. Alright. There we go. Okay, I think he looks pretty good. Only gonna give him, let's see. We're going to do this ear first, and then we're going to do this ear. I'm going to give just a little bit down there for his horn. Just a smidgen, just so it sticks to it. Now we're going to take our star tip bag and give him some nice flowy hair. I'm going to do it a little bit different this time. I'm going to make it go down a little bit more rather than out that way. There we go. Get some pink towards the top. So I'm going to give this unicorn some bangs. You know, when you get older, you might cut your hair and you might get some bangs. And then you're not going to like them. But then you love him and then you hate him. It's a love-hate relationship with bangs. So this unicorn, she's gonna love-hate her bangs. There we go. Oh, I kind of got her ear in it a little bit. It's okay. We can, oh, no, it's gonna stay like that. There we go, that's good. Now we're gonna take our last horn and place him right there. I'm going to give her an open eye this time. I'm actually gonna give her a tail too, because unicorns have tails. I'm gonna give her a little tail, just like that. And that concludes our pool party decorating cookie kit. I hope you guys enjoyed. We just finished our pool party cookie decorating kit, and I have my 2 sets of cookies here. We have our first cookies that they're okay, but they could be a little room for improvement. And then here we have our beautiful second cookies. So as you can see, you know, I'm a professional, and my first cookies, they don't come out, you know, quite like I want them. So it's okay if your cookies don't come out as perfect as you think that they should, because the second time around, you're gonna get it and it's gonna look so much better than the first time, and you're gonna be so happy about them, and then you get to eat them afterwards, which is always great. And next week is our last camp video. I cannot believe how fast this has gone by. It's just been a whirlwind. So much fun stuff has happened, and I'm so happy to be here and be your camp counselor. And our last kit next week is going to be our Dunkaroo and cookie dip. I cannot wait.